Hey, what's up guys? It's Brendan from Best Life Weight Loss. And today's bike vlog, I'm gonna be doing it again. I'm gonna be talking about calorie deficit. You know, it's been a while, I think like 2 weeks or something since I had a video, and just, you know, life been going crazy. And last 2 weeks I've really been honed in on my calorie deficit. You know, if you've been watching it in the past, you know, I was just fucking staying at the same weight, fluctuating from 222 to 225. There was like 2 months where I was just 230 straight. And in the last 2 weeks, I've gone from 222 to 211. Just pure, and you know, my normal biking 6 days a week, just doing my cardio, but having at least 5 days of just a restrictive calorie deficit. I've been doing less than 1,000 calories. There was days where I consumed 700 to 800. There were some days where I went to 9. But I made sure for those 5 days, did not consume over 1,000 calories, and the results on the scale speak for themselves, you know? And it's not something, and it sounds, oh, 10 pounds. No, that's not realistic. There's a lot of water weight distribution that goes on, you know? So, you know, remember, I'm weighing myself every day. I do it after every workout. And it's not something I did in the beginning, because you're not gonna see massive change here or there as much. Hold on, this is falling again. But it's something that takes time, you know? And when I say, you know, oh, my starting point was 367 pounds, that was in 2002, or 2002. Imagine, fuck, I mean, I was still fat as fuck in 2002. But in 2022, I was 30 years old, 367 pounds. I couldn't even understand what a calorie deficit was. You know, it was just fucking consume whatever I wanted. Never really thought about it. Never thought about any kind of nutrition, protein, you know. Exercised every now and then, but it was never something I stuck with, you know. And when I started my weight loss journey, I didn't understand how much of the calorie deficit it was, how important knowing the numbers and doing the numbers. I just started with the bike, and I just was doing 20 minutes a day, moved on to 30, and then I jumped to an hour. I was just doing an hour a day for almost a year, maybe 7 to 8 months to a year, just doing that hour. And I saw great results. Lost over 100 pounds probably in that first year. And then, you know, as I continued on to my journey, figuring out the diet, I learned, it's like, oh man, calorie deficit, and it's a numbers game. And if you can consistently, at least 5 to 6 days a week, burn more calories than you consume. I always have my cheat day on Saturday. And for a while there, I was going crazy ham. And it would take days to kind of recruit that, where I'd fucking gain like 5 pounds on the cheat day, or at least it felt like that. You know, it said it on the scale, but realistically it was probably 3, and a lot of that is water waste distribution, I guess, whatever. But it would take time to recover. I still have my wonderful cheat days, but I'm definitely more cognitive of it. I do try and limit myself so that it's not that bad. And I'm telling you, it's my road to 180, baby, 180, 185. And it's, you know, it was a number that always seemed out of reach. And it was a number that I picked because, yeah, I'm 5'11", so it's just what my BMI is. And I've never been my BMI. I've always been fat as fuck. So I want to see what that's like, you know. And then from there, you know, because obviously, you know, trying to build muscle, but I still feel like I have so much fat in areas, and I want to lower my body fat percentage, you know. And then I can focus on building muscle in a more different facet. Maybe even try some testosterone. If you don't know what that is, you know, it's probably a good thing at this point. Some would say it's snake oil. Who knows? You know, it's just something interesting to think about. But, you know, I'm going back, and I said, you know, I haven't made a video in a while, and the calorie deficit is just something that I wish I knew and could have planned from the beginning. Because I think if I would have known about the calorie deficit, tracking the calories, and I really think I could have just made such a bigger progress back then. And it's like, if you start your weight loss journey and you can restrict your calories really good early and learn to get into that rhythm, because it really is a rhythm of things. You know, when I said, I've said in the past, make a schedule, have a routine, and that includes the food. So having my calorie deficit and then making it around the routine, it becomes habit forming, you know, to the point where, and your body gets used to it. And let me tell you, you know, when you, especially when you're obese, when you're fat, when you have a certain relationship with food, like I've had in the past, it can be comforting. Food can be a comfort. And the indulgence can feel good at the time, but something that always happened, I would overindulge. And then I'd feel like shit, I'd be bloated, I'd be gassy. And it's amazing how, yeah, you know, being in the calorie deficit, I get hungry, I get fatigued, brain fog, but there's no bloating. And it's crazy that you know, it's like, oh, I have less energy because I'm hungry, but when I go do something, when I'm moving, I don't feel like I have less energy. I can just I'm booming, you know, even in that deficit. And it's like when you're, and I feel like the exercise, if you were just not consuming and you're only in a deficit and you weren't exercising, I don't think you would feel as good. I would think you'd feel kind of shitty. And I think you need to have that form of exercise and a calorie deficit to not only have a successful weight loss journey and see massive results, but to also feel good. Because I see super skinny people that they naturally are in a deficit. They don't eat a lot. They have problems too, and they have body aches and they have depression. And then there's the fat motherfuckers like I was, who obviously have body aches, who are obviously sad. But you know, motherfuckers that work out, you don't hear them crying as much. You don't hear them bitching as much. And if you do, they go and work out. And it sounds crazy, but caring about your body, trying to do better for it, and being in a deficit, it in itself will help your mental health. Caring, it comes down to self-care. And you know, I always like the saying of like, how can you properly love someone if you can't love yourself? And if you're letting yourself be fat, destitute, sloppy, feeling like shit, you know your body doesn't work good, there's so many different things you can do to improve it. Exercise, cardio. But if you want to start your weight loss journey, you want it to be successful, you know, I always say, try and start with an exercise, start with cardio, get a stationary bike. It's the easiest form of exercise. The easiest form. Sitting here watching a fucking documentary about bank robberies on Netflix. Just fucking burning calories. It is the easiest form, the easiest barrier of entry, and you could segue that in. You could ride the stationary bike for a year, lose a bunch of weight, and then go to the gym because you build your own fucking confidence, you know? But, you know, one thing that I really wish I would have started, and is one of the main points, is being in a calorie deficit. Track what you're eating. Start now before you do anything else. Track what you're eating, and track the calories, track the protein, the macronutrients. Look at all of that stuff. It's a simple starting point for your health, for your journey that you want to start. But I hope you start your journey today and stay positive, guys.